Pro Performance. As you know, we do a lot of C10 trucks here, but with the OBS's 88 to 98 trucks on the rise, we want to show you what can be done when you take a mid-90s truck, apply some wheels, brakes, and really come around to make it a full sport truck with getting it lower to the ground, better stopping, better handling. So what we decided to do is pick up a 98 Silverado. So we're going to show you what we're starting with. It's basically a regular cab short bed. So come on in the shop and we'll show you what we're starting with. So Eddie's pulling it in now. So this starts as a 160,000 mile 98 Silverado. It's pretty clean to begin with, so we'll kind of show you what we're working with. It's got the normal paint clear issue on the hood, but overall it's in good shape. It's got a good body on it. We went ahead and got started a little early on it, so it's not fully how we picked it up, but we started peeling off all the side trim. We're gonna go through, clean it all up, and just really make it a really good base to start with. So you'll see that you can find these trucks relatively cheap. They're in great shape and it's got full power, AC, everything works. So it's really a good truck to start with as a platform to make a sport truck. We'll show you the parts around front in a little bit here, but working around the back, like I said, fully straight. We're gonna peel off everything on the back, including the tailgate. So what we're gonna start with is a 4.6 drop from BellTech. That's gonna be first and foremost. So that'll be your spindles, flip kit, drop spring. We're gonna pair it with some American Racing torque thrust wheels. And then finally, we're gonna do our Revelator 13-inch brake kit. The reason we're going with that route, because we wanna run 18s and really sit this thing down. So follow us along, subscribe. We're gonna show you kind of how you take this boring stock truck and turn it into the ideal sport truck for a relatively affordable price. So follow along and we'll show you what we do with it.
Hey guys, I'm Scott with Divine Detail. We're gonna jump into this truck. First, our process on this, we're gonna do a thorough prepping session. So we're gonna do a full wash, clean out these wheel wells, clean the wheels, tires, all done like it should be. And then we're gonna proceed with the decontamination process, and that's through clay bar. So the whole body's gonna receive a white clay bar, which is a mid-grade. That's gonna pull up any embedded contaminants in the clear coat to give us a smooth painted surface. And then we're gonna proceed with removing these random isolated defects, so stuff like that. This line here left over from the trim being taken off. So we're gonna clean that up, and then we're gonna wrap it up with a one-step polish to just kind of wake up the paint, increase the gloss and clarity, and then we're gonna seal it with a 10-month sealant. There and a little here. I'm not going to chase those though, because I'd rather not burn through, take too much off. The idea is to get as much material off in order to eliminate the scratch without burning through.
All right, so we got American Racing 5-spoke wheels for the Project 98 truck. These are the VN215s, 18.8, 1810s. As they come right off the shelf, it's a one-piece wheel. It does have the correct backspace. So the main thing with the one-piece wheel is the centers are not welded into the outer. So they come with a certain backspace, bolt pattern, and it is what it is. But works out for us because these will fit right on the truck. Now, the reason we went with the 18s is because we have our new Revelator brake kit, which is a 13-inch kit up front. So what that does is it allows us to run inside an 18-inch wheel. Right now, we only do a 14 and it requires a 19-inch or larger wheel. So we wanted to do 18s to show off our new brake kit, 13s that will go inside these. So it should fill it up pretty well. Tires, we got 245/40 18 and a 275/40 18. So we'll get these mounted up on the truck today, and then we'll start some brake testing so we can actually show you guys the difference between stock brakes with this wheel and tire combo, switching to our Revelator 13-inch kit all the way around, and show you what that improvement is. So keep following along. We'll get these mounted up and we'll show you how they came out. After that, it'll be the BellTech 4.6, 5.7 drop. I think we're gonna kind of see wherever it falls. So anyways, keep watching. All right guys, it's early on
Sunday morning and we're gonna go do the brake testing like we talked about. So we're gonna set up some parameters as far as measuring out all the feet. We're just gonna find maybe a desolate road or something to do it all on. So we'll probably be there in a little bit. We'll show you what we're gonna do, what we're starting with, what the base parameters are, and then we'll see what it does. All right, so this is what we're starting with. This is the first test of braking. Stock brakes. We went ahead and put on the 18-inch wheels because we want apples to apples comparison. So when we do the big brake setup and lower it, we'll have the same wheels and tires, same everything. So that's an 18.8 with a 245, 1810 with a 275 on it. We're gonna do 65 miles an hour and brake down to 0. We're gonna do it about 5 to 10 times, depends, I'm not sure anywhere in there, but when we finish, I'll let you know. And then record all of those, the distance, and then take the average. And then what we'll do is after we drop it with the big brakes, we'll go ahead and do the same thing, same number of times, record the average, and then you can see what the difference was. So let's get started. I don't think it's gonna be really good with the stock brakes, but we'll get going and see how it does. All right, so we just finished up testing. We did 8 times, 65 to 0. So we're gonna take each measurement. We'll record that for each 8 times, and then we'll also show you the average. So that way when we're back in a couple weeks with it lowered, same wheels and tires, same everything, just lowered with the new brakes, we can show you the apples to apples comparison. You can see the improvement. Now, the only thing that may be a slight variable is when I would hit the brakes at the first cone over there, maybe I hit a little before, a little after, but when we do the testing with the new brakes, it'll be the same thing. So that's just human variables. I can't stop exactly started at the cone. So nonetheless, we'll get this data. You can definitely tell these stock brakes are smelling and they're hot. So we'll record it, and then we'll come back in a few weeks and do the testing with the new brakes.
Yeah, set it on the ground so the weight is on the truck. Don't do it this way as an afterthought. Or just have an eddy. So what we did is a good way to get off the upper nut off the shock absorber, because the shaft usually spins when you take it off, is let the spring put all the weight on the shock. It'll kind of pull it, then you hit it with the impact and it'll spin off, so it doesn't just spin the shaft. We're gonna take off the steering arm for the spindle so we can rotate it and get to the actual ball joints of the spindle itself easier for the upper and lower. We'll back off the nut almost all the way and then use a sledgehammer to pop it loose. If the ball joint spins and it won't allow you to take off the nut, you can always get the jack, push up on it, and that'll put the taper back into the steering knuckle portion, put tension on it. Then you should be able to take it off the rest of the way. And so you don't have to search for it later. For the cotter pins, you're gonna straighten them out like so. They can still be a little bit of trouble to work through. This one's not too bad, but what you can do is we'll come around to the other side. And if they're tight, you kind of grab it like this and use the pliers as a pry bar to pull it out. We're gonna take the bump stop off because it's gonna be way too close once we come down to the 5-inch drop. So we're gonna get ready to pop the ball joints on the lower and upper. We're gonna do the same process, leave a little bit of it threaded. Then we're gonna use the tension of the spring to help pop that out and hit it right here with the sledgehammer. Same thing with the upper. That'll catch it from the arm just falling. Then once those are released, then you can slowly release the arm and pull the spring. We're also gonna remove the sway bar. We're gonna take the spindle off, the ball joints, that's it. Just like that. And luckily the new one, normally you would put the drop spindle on, repack your bearings, put the old brakes on, but our spindle already has the brakes done, so it's gonna make the job a little bit easier. We are lowering the control arm down so we can get the coil spring out. There, it shouldn't be under a lot of tension. There you go. Well, at least the new one's shorter, so it'll be that much easier. Oh, there, you're good. All right, so in the kit with the coil springs, you will get a spacer up top. That spacer, with the spacer, that is a 2-inch drop spring. Pull the spacer, 3-inch drop. You pair that with the 2-inch spindle, 5 inches of drop up front. So right in here, there's a little divot. That's where your lower spring is gonna, the end of the coil spring is gonna sit. And then when we lift this up, then we'll make sure it's seated up in the upper spring procket. There's kind of like a a cone in there that's like this, so your spring will sit in that. So once it gets up there a little bit, then we can make sure it's seated in the top. We got the new spring in there. We're just lifting it back up, put a little tension on it, so that way the upper spring is seated and it's seated in lower. It doesn't need a lot of tension, just a little bit. Now we'll go ahead and drop the spindle on, tighten everything down. That side's done. So this is the back side of the BellTech spindle. This one, again, has been modified for our Revelator 13-inch kit. The reason we're going 13s is because of the 18-inch wheels. So they modify it here. This comes fully assembled. When you order the 13-inch kit from us, it'll come just like this, all done on the spindle, new ABS sensor with the plug. So we probably won't show you the full install of this, but we cut the previous one and then we'll feed this through and plug it in later. But we'll go ahead and get the spindle dropped on the control arm and button up that side.
Bring it back.
So we're gonna take off this bracket right here, so that way we can run the new brake hose. It's gonna attach for this brake kit. It's gonna attach right there. So we're gonna take it off now because the arm's higher and it's a little easier. To put everything back together, just do the opposite of what you did to take it off.
All right guys, so onto the back right now. We're going to get the lower shock mounts taken apart. Then we're going to loosen up the U-bolts so that that can already all be loose. And we're gonna drop it back down to the ground so it's safe and remove the rear end basically. All right guys, so as you can see, the notches are already in place and installed. Basically, it's pretty straightforward. All you're gonna really do is use the template that comes with the C-notch, cut it out, drill the holes, and put the bolts in. It is a little time consuming, but something you gotta do when you want a custom truck. All right guys, getting the old U-bolts out. The new Street Performance shocks from BellTech are installed. Some of you guys may have the black version of these shocks. All that is just a lighter valve shock. This one gives you a little bit more firmness when you drive, a little bit more control. So we chose this one. All right guys, so we're taking out the stock shackle. Well, we're gonna be replacing it with a 1-inch BellTech drop shackle. That's gonna give you the 7-inch drop. The 6 is coming from the flip kit. The 1-inch drop shackle is giving you that extra inch. So we're taking the leaf spring from the top of the axle, flipping it to the bottom of the axle, hence why this is called a flip kit. So this right here is a flip kit axle bracket, and this hole right here helps you align where your rear end sits, so it sits where it needs to be. This hole is gonna go toward the front of the truck, not like this, it's going to go toward the front. So keep that in mind when you're doing yours, and you'll be good. Now we're getting the lower leaf spring bracket put on, the new U-bolts, new plate, new hardware, and same thing with the upper bracket, this little hole toward the front, not toward the back.
Shock, go into the bracket here. Basically just makes it longer so you can still keep a long shock, get a good ride. In theory, the longer the shock, the better travel and better ride you're gonna get out of it. We're gonna cut the bed because on a 5.7 drop, the rear end gets so close that this needs to be trimmed out on the brace. So we're gonna take about a 12-inch section out of it. So that way it'll have room to come up and give bias about, what is that, 2 inches more of room. So we'll just make a cut, then take a flap disc, hit it, smooth it out, good to go. So we're gonna set it back down with just a little bit of weight on it because the shocks are just a little off from going in the extender. So that'll lift up the axle a tad. We'll get the lower shocks in. Once the weight is on the vehicle, then we can go ahead and tighten the leaf springs, the shackles. Then we put the bed on and see how it sits. Bed's on, all done. Let's see where it sits. We're all wrapped up with the install. Again, this is a BellTech 5.7 drop. We did do the Revelator 13-inch kit in front because it was attached to the spindle again. We're gonna bleed it later. But this is a finished product. Got to roll some fender lips, but overall it sits really low, especially on 18s. Call us with any of these parts, we can definitely get it, and hope this is a help when you go to lower your OBS.
The final test results revealed a 53-foot improvement in braking stock versus the 13-inch Revelator kit. So as you can imagine, that is a ton of improvement over what stock is, and to kind of give you a visual reference, that's going to be just over 3 full truck lengths. So what a change. Our 14-inch kit will be even a little bit better because that gives a little bit more leverage with the braking. So very happy with the results and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to check us out on the web at azproperformance.com or give us a call at 480-420-8175.